In previous episode, we saw a new Dokabi named Yongi appears and rewards the players for the 5th scenario, giving them a rare healing potion. Major contributors, Dokja and Hee-won, receive a B-grade skill, with Dokja choosing lie detection. While the team relaxes and celebrates, strange symbols appear in spilled alcohol. The constellation god of alcohol and ecstasy, Dionysus, contacts Dokja and offers him a dangerous chance to enter the underworld for 12 hours. Dokja accepts and wakes in the realm of the dead, starting a hidden scenario where he must return to life within 12 hours or remain a citizen of the underworld. There he reunites with Nier, a past ally, and encounters monsters while searching for Shin, a girl he suspects may have died. As overseers approach, Dokja must pretend to work to avoid being caught. After some time, the overseers begin their rounds, checking the progress of work. Noon tells Dokja that the overseers are there, so he should pick up the hammer and start pretending to work. Dokja looks at Noon and asks why he is looking at him like that. Dokja didn't think about anything when he saw Noon. Noon asks if Dokja is scared of him and worried that he might try to get revenge. Dokja is nervous and thinks that Noon is even more of a psychopath than in the novel. He is definitely scared. Noon tells Dokja there's no need for that. Since they're both dead, he has changed a lot since he got here and has done a lot of self-reflection. He even thanks Dokja for killing him. Dokja asks why, and Noon explains that they are fed on time, given a roof over their heads, and their parents are not here to nag at them. Though it's a little hot, this place is the best, and they get to build miniature robots when they're bored. Dokja thinks that the Titan soldiers are robots, but he doesn't realize that Noon is playing with the metal ore of the underworld. Noon tells Dokja that it's all thanks to him, and he is grateful. Dokja thinks that Noon has a few screws loose. The system notifies Dokja that Noon has taken a liking to him. Suddenly, an announcement comes for all the slaves on the first floor. The overseers stand on a stage and inform everyone that they will conduct a random inspection. Noon tells Dokja that they inspect them all the time because the overseers have nothing better to do. The overseers announce that an intruder has entered the underworld. It was reported that a living spirit had crossed Acheron. If the Great Death finds out about this, terrible things will happen to everyone. The inspection is a formality, so the slaves should not be anxious and remain where they are. Dokja is worried and thinks that things are progressing faster than he expected. Noon says that the overseers are a bunch of idiots. Even if a living person came here, they would never come to Tartarus because there's no escaping from here. He looks at Dokja, who is lost in his thoughts, and asks if the overseers were talking about him. Dokja replies that they were. Noon tells Dokja that he is indeed the master of manipulation, asking how he could pretend to be dead all this time. Dokja asks if there's any place he can hide. Noon asks where he could hide in a damn prison. He tells Dokja to go hide in the robot if he's that desperate. Dokja asks if the robot is finished, and he replies that it has not yet been completed. Dokja thinks that if it had been completed, he would have ridden that thing to defeat Cerberus and head straight for Hayes' place. Naman asks if he is going to hide in that robot. Dokja replies no and thinks that thing is nearly a living organism, so he might end up being digested if he goes inside. Noon says that is good because he will die right away if he goes inside the robot. Dokja says he thought Noon turned over a new leaf, but he replies only for people who are dead, like him. Noon starts grinning and says it was nice seeing him, but it's too bad that he will die soon, so he will be nice to him then. Dokja is worried and thinks that he also visited the underworld near the end of the novel. He closes his eyes and wonders what he did then. The system notifies Dokja that his memory of the novel has been elaborated due to his attributes. Dokja remembers that he defeated the overseers and told them to go tell the king of the underworld that he would be taking Pluto, the Titan soldier. He told everyone to get lost unless they wanted to die. Dokja opens his eyes, grabs his hair, and thinks that psychopath Yu challenged the judges of Hades head-on. He thinks that is only possible because Yu is a regret. He doesn't have that much power, and he is not even a regressor. Suddenly, Dokja realizes something and says, "Hold on." He asks why he can't do what Yu did and why he shouldn't get caught. The judges might obliterate him for Hei's sake. Dokja stands up. The observers look at him and ask who he is. Dokja says that he is the person they are looking for. One of them instantly grabs Dokja's neck from behind and starts freezing him. Dokja says that it looks like they are about to obliterate him into non-existence, but he suggests they think again. If they kill him now, they will end up losing in gigant maki for sure. The observers start looking at each other while Dokja's neck is frozen. Dokja tells them to go and tell the father of the rich knight that he knows of a way to complete that Titan soldier. Dokja thinks that he can feel the cold seeping through his bones, and it feels like his heart is about to freeze. After some time, the overseers take Dokja to Hades. As they walk past Cerberus, they look at Dokja and start growling. Dokja looks back at Nun and tells him to have fun in hell. He is shocked to see Dokja leave. After some time, they climb some stairs and Dokja looks around. The overseers tell Dokja that he will get lost if he's not careful. Dokja messages Beong and asks if he is there. Adokabi replies that he is. Dokja recognizes the voice and says that it is not Beong and asks if he is a new Ubai. He replies, "Hello, sir. I am Yongi, a low-grade Dokabi." Yongi tells him that Dokabi is tending to business at the administration, so he is here to fill in. Dokja asks if he is not going to do his job, and he says sorry. Dokja tells him that the scenario has been updated and asks why he isn't keeping him updated. Yongi asks Dokja how one updates a scenario. Dokja is disappointed to hear that and asks what kind of a you asks an incarnation that question. Yongi tells him that Beong told him to ask him if he comes across anything he doesn't know. Dokja grabs his head and wonders what Beong has gotten him into. Yongi tells Dokja to hold on and he will go and ask another Dokabi. Yongi says that he is sorry to ask Dokja about this, but could he display his message backlog? He tells Dokja that this is his first time working as a dispatcher. Suddenly, Dokja starts receiving a lot of messages. He looks at the screen and sees that Dionysus is overjoyed. His suffering, the constellation prisoner of the golden headband, is excited. His adventure, the demonic judge of fire, is praying that he may come back to his comrades safely. And the secretive plotter is curious to find how he'll escape. The system notifies Dokja that he has been gifted 12,000 coins. Dokja wonders if he got 12,000 coins just for showing them Hayes Palace. He says, well, if one thinks about it, he is basically broadcasting private property where cameras aren't allowed. The overseers tell Dokja that they have arrived. There's a large dokari open in front of Dokja. He steps inside and feels a burst of lightning. Dokja is surprised to hear a voice. It's interesting. It has been a while since someone set foot in here alive, and he has brought some unwanted guests with him. Dokja sees a dining table there and wonders if it is a banquet hall. He can't see clearly because it is too dark, but since they are in Hades' palace and a woman is speaking to him from where the lady of the house is supposed to be seated, suddenly the dokari is closed behind Dokja and he is startled. The voice says that today is going to be a special day and the candles start burning. Dokja says that it is an honor to be in the presence of the queen of the darkest spring. Dokja remembers that she is the wife of Hades and the queen of the underworld, Pani. Pani tells him that he knows her name and he has great manners for an incarnation. Dokja says that he is flattered. Pani says what is more interesting is that he doesn't seem to be shaken despite hearing her true voice. Dokja thinks that is true. He doesn't feel anything. He thinks that Pani is a constellation that is at least above the rank of a fable, and to think that just a few days ago, he had trouble hearing his own voice. The system notifies Dokja that the personal skill, fourth wall, has been activated in full force. Dokja thinks that he has never seen that before. Maybe it is because he is meeting a being on a whole other level that his subconscious is perceiving this experience as unreal. Pani tells Dokja to sit. Dokja sits on a chair across the table from her and asks her a question if she doesn't mind. She tells him to go on. Dokja asks if that is her true form, and she replies, "Of course not. This is her symbolic form. A mere human such as yourself would not be able to withstand her true form." Dokja is looking at her, and she says, "Perhaps Dokja is not into older women." Dokja says that is not the problem and thinks that she has assumed the form of the old lady he couldn't save in the first scenario. Pani is smiling and says that if she is making him uncomfortable, then she can assume a different form. Suddenly, Dokja is surprised to see that she changed her form, and now she looks like a beautiful young lady wearing a black dress. Dokja is shocked to see her as Pani is smiling. Dokja turns his head and looks away. He tells her that the old lady is fine. He wonders if she has to turn into someone wearing that dress. She tells Dokja that since they don't have much time, let's get straight to business. Dokja asks, what about the king of the underworld? She says that the king is displeased with his sudden visit today, so she thinks that it is best if he talks to her today. Dokja thinks that there's no way one of the three major gods of Olympus would talk to some incarnation. She tells Dokja that Darius has told her everything, but it wouldn't hurt to hear what he wants in his own words. Dokja tells Pani that he wants to revive someone's soul, and he is ready to make any deal. She picks up a knife and a fork and says that they remind her of her past. She starts slicing the meat and tells him that souls don't exist in this world. Dokja says that would make Plato and Aristotle turn in their graves. She is about to take a bite of the meat and tells Dokja that those two wouldn't be in their graves because they became constellations. Dokja tells her that he is not here to exchange jokes. Pani says neither is she. She tells him that there's no such thing as a soul. She says that it is just an illusion created by man who so desperately wants to believe in their continued existence. Dokja asks, then what about the people of the underworld? She shows Dokja a piece of meat on the fork and says that they are like this. Panya eats the piece of meat and tells him that it is premium beef. She tells him to try some of it, but Dokja replies no. Panya asks Dokja if he is going to decline her offer. Dokja says that he is sorry, but he must. Dokja thinks that he is sure that it is delicious. TWSA describes how delicious it is over 12 pages. And at the very end, until his current round ends, Yu regrets having eaten the food because whoever eats the food of the underworld can never go back to the world of the living. Panya smirks and tells Dokja that life in the underworld isn't as bad as he thinks. He can visit the living realm freely as long as he has the permission of the king. It would be like being in a private military. Dokja tells her that's great, but the time he served in the military was the worst he could ever think about. Panay is surprised and says that men in his country always say they should have just stayed in the army, so she thought it was a big deal. She must have been mistaken. Dokja wonders how a goddess of a foreign country knows so much about Korean men. She tells him that he will be treated better than he could ever imagine. Dokja says that the executive officer who wanted him to become a sergeant said something like that too. Panya says that she bet he didn't offer him a steak. For example, the steak he has before him will immediately make him a sword master. Dokja looks at the steak and thinks that one could only become a swordmaster after years and years of arduous training in other dimensions, Pani adds, and tells Dokja that the past over there will make him an archmage who can reign over countries. The soup will make him an SSS grade hunter. She asks Dokja if he is still not going to eat them. Dokja picks up the fork and knife and thinks that if he takes a bite of the steak, he will become even more powerful than Yu in an instant. Dokja starts seeing someone's memories and quickly drops the fork and knife on the table. Pani tells him that this little piece of meat is what humans believe to be their souls. Dokja says that it must be the memories of someone who used to be a swordmaster. She starts smiling and tells Dokja that it is their story, and that it is the dish that constellations love the most, those who devour stories and are story fanatics. Dokja is angry and thinks that this is the true nature of the beings they call constellations. Pani tells Dokja that death is like an ending to a story. Just as a slaughtered cow can't be revived, dead people can't come back to life because their story is ended. Dokja says that he knows that there are exceptions. Pani says that it is all lies. There are no exceptions. Dokja asks if she can swear on the sticks, and she is surprised to hear that. Dokja thinks that the Greek gods swear on the sticks when they make a vow. Even Zeus is not exempt from this rule. Pani tells him that the soul he is referring to is just a miserable pile of stories, and he replies yes, and that pile of stories is what he wants. Pani tells him that whoever looks back in the underworld is bound to regret it. She tells him that he needs to learn to cope with something that has already passed. Dokja says, "My queen, time doesn't just move forward." He thinks that she would know that, so she puts down her fork and glares at Dokja. Dokja thinks that he can feel the chill running all the way through his soul. He asks how she can deny the existence of the soul when he can feel it. Pani starts laughing and says, "This is fun." She tells Dokja that he is indeed a singularity, as the children of Olympus told her, and she looks at Dokja with her yellow eyes. Dokja thinks that her smile has changed, and he could end up dying if he makes the slightest mistake. He tells her that he has seen the Titan soldiers that are being built in Tartarus. If she agrees to make a deal with him, then he could have them built much quicker. Pani says that she is not interested. It is true that Gigant Maki is important, but they'll have no problem completing the Titan soldiers in time. Dokja is disappointed to hear that, and thinks that he thought this trick would definitely work. Pani tells Dokja that there's one thing she wants, and if he tells her how he knows all of that, then she might be able to help him. Dokja says that he can't do that, to be honest, and he doesn't even think that he can explain it properly. Pani looks at Dokja and says, "Just as I thought." At the same time, notifications start appearing. The system notifies that the constellation Prisoner of the Golden Headband can't believe what they are hearing. The demonic judge is surprised. The scribe of heaven criticizes the queen's indiscretion, and the constellation Secretive Plotter begins to ponder. Pani tells them all to be quiet since they're all guests here. Dokja asks what she just said. Pani is looking at a screen and says that it is nothing. Dokja is in shock. He thinks that, although he can't pronounce it, what she just said was filtered to him. He thinks that all information that is pertinent to an unknown scenario is filtered, but that doesn't apply to those who already have that information. Dokja wonders what is going on. There's still some information he doesn't know about when he read TWSA in its eternity. Thanks for watching. Everyone, I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated. And hey, drop a comment if you have thoughts or new ideas or just want to say hi. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, take care and stay awesome.